Yes, it's Boston has entered the chat. Good morning, everyone. George Balkeji here with Kasey Hudson. We got you guys locked in for the next hour right here on NESN. Everything happening in sports, everything happening in NESN and Boston as well. Case, good morning. How we doing?
Good morning. Actually, fantastic. I am a morning person, and it gets confirmed every time that I have to get up and do something early after like a long time of not having to be up at 4, 5, 6 a.m. When that alarm went off at 4:15.
Jump out of bed?
It was on.
4:15, 5 a.m. for me. But hey, we're locked in this morning with you guys. We got everything covered for y'all. We'll be talking some Tom Brady. What do you have to say about Antonio Brown trying to expose him? But once again, Tom just looking like the good guy. Also, his advice for Shedeur Sanders. The Patriots with a new hire, but could it be nepotism at play? You all saw what happened with the Celtics and Knicks last night. And if you didn't, we got a full recap for you guys there, plus Travis Thomas joining the show. We'll talk NHL playoffs, and also Alex Bregman and Wilyer Abreu once again being the heroes for the Red Sox coming up with the big win. But let's start with Tom Brady. He was on the Impaulsive podcast. Now, I was new to this. I did not know it existed until Tom Brady was on it. And I got to say, fantastic interview. His answers were electric. I loved the insight into his mindset. Obviously, the greatest competitor and the GOAT. So it's cool to hear him talk about that. They also hit on him and his past relationship with Antonio Brown.
Right.
Here's what Tom Brady had to say about AB, his former teammate, trying to air him out on social media.
I saw a post, I think from AB yesterday on Twitter. Yeah. You were just making sure that he was getting to his psych appointments.
Yeah.
And he thought that was a...
Yeah, that was.
What's your relationship like with Antonio? We've had him on the show.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, I wanted the best for him. You know, I think I saw a spark in him that I thought if put in the right place, you know, how incredible it could be for not just the team he was on, but for his life and what he could accomplish. And you know, I always hope for the best for him. And I met him, and I always admired him as a player. And then I got to play with him, and I actually saw in the meeting room like how he could take information and bring it to the field. And we picked him up at the Patriots, and he played one game, the opener, second game of the year against Miami. And then the next week in practice, we were playing the Jets. It was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practice. We didn't have an incompletion the entire week of practice. Like, that's basically unheard of.
Yeah.
And we released him Friday afternoon. And then, you know, there was just a lot of things that were happening in his life and that he needed to focus on. And the team decided, the Patriots said, no, you know, we're not dealing with this. And the league had some issues. And then we ended up going to Tampa. And then he came back after a suspension in Tampa. And I just thought, okay, if I can help him, like, I'd love to help him because he'd help our team. It'd help his life. And then, you know, I always root for the best, you know.
So Antonio Brown put out a screenshot. I don't know what he was trying, and it literally showed Tom Brady hitting him up and saying, hey, make sure not to miss your psych appointment, your mental aspect of the game, the IQ, it's all there. You know how to execute. We just need to lock in the concentration and the composure. And you see Tom Brady there, he could have went in on AB because all AB has tried to do is basically rip on Tom Brady and make him look like the bad guy in every situation. The GOAT of GOATs, taking the high road, and you see him even talking about, I love that glimpse in, didn't have a single incompletion during practice, just their second week working together, but the Patriots being the Patriots, took that swing on AB, didn't work out, they released him.
Right. Well, I mean, regardless of who's been at the helm for the Patriots, right, I think that culture has always been something, you know, character, personality, and the minute they see something they don't like, then it's just kind of time to move on. But that just speaks to the fact that, like, Tom Brady's a competitor. He saw a guy with a spark that was going to be able to contribute and bring something to the table in terms of, you know, victories and wins. And so that attachment came in. And yeah, I can see him wanting to help him, but I can also see him being like, you know, there's something in this for me too. And not in a selfish way, but I think that's why Antonio Brown, and I'm not defending Antonio Brown by any means, I think that's why he just keeps digging in because he wants to make it look like, you know, he was the value pack there and he's the real, you know, top line of all of this, where Tom Brady just continues to come out, as you said earlier, like the good guy. You know, he just was trying to do what's best here. Yeah,
that's Antonio Brown, who we know was the best receiver of football when he was with the Steelers. Live streaming coaches' speeches post-game in the locker room, shouldn't be doing that. Basically, Steelers said enough. Signs with the Raiders. Doesn't want to play for them because of his helmet. Gives himself basically frostbite for cold therapy with his feet. Cut by them. Shows up with the Patriots, is there for like 5 days, and then Bill Belichick said enough is enough, and there was a lot more going on off the field. Everything we've seen from him since his fallout with the Steelers, we all know that Antonio Brown's not in the best mental place.
Right.
And what he's trying to do, dig onto Tom Brady, it just doesn't make sense at all. But it was cool because even Tom Brady pointing out, he's like, end of the day, like, I wanted what was best for him. What's best for him is best for the team. And when he's playing football, Tom Brady recognized that in Antonio Brown. When he's locked in, when he's committed to football, he's at his best all around.
Yeah.
So in a way, yes, Tom Brady's going, what's the best receiver you could get me on this team? What helps us win? But then also he was looking at what benefits Antonio Brown. And obviously when Brady went to Tampa Bay, Antonio Brown was there too, and they won a Super Bowl together. There he was able to get it all together, and we saw how that worked out.
Well, so I can say this because having covered the Bucs at that time, when we brought in Tom Brady and Tom Brady starts, the whispers of bringing in Antonio Brown and wanting him to be a part of this unit, there were some contingencies put in play. First of all, we found out media-wise that he had him like listening to Tim Robbins and doing one-on-one meetings with him on a weekly, if not like multi-weekly basis to just try to consistently keep Antonio Brown in like a focused mindset. That was also apparently why he also had to move in with him, because it was more of just like bringing him into a stable structure, helping him get situated, but it was minimizing distractions and it was kind of like an attitude containment. So I remember we got a media alert when everything started going down and it was like, hey, like here are some of the positives in terms of like what Antonio Brown is working on and how Tom Brady is like walking him through it. We got a lot of media notifications as to how Tom Brady was structuring the mental focus of almost every player on the Bucs roster.
Yeah, that's so Tom Brady being starting quarterback, de facto offensive coordinator, mental coach as well, off the field coach, mentor, housing specialist, keeping Antonio Brown in his home as well, doing everything for the team. But that just shows like how committed Tom Brady was to the game and how committed he was to the team, where he didn't care. He was a future Hall of Famer, the greatest quarterback of all time, and just obviously the quarterback of that team, where he could have been like, that's not my worry. My thing is to go throw touchdown passes and show up on the field. Leave that to the coaches or someone else, maybe a wide receiver, a Mike Evans. No, he took that upon himself to make sure that happened. And Tom Brady being a mentor didn't just stop with Antonio Brown either. Here's Tom Brady after Shedeur Sanders was passed up on the draft, fell all the way to pick 144. And of course, him being a minority owner with the Raiders, Las Vegas was also one of those teams that chose not to draft Shedeur Sanders.
Elephant in the room, Shedeur Sanders. What happened, Tom? Why did he go so late in the draft?
I mean, it's a good question. I wasn't a part of any evaluation process or to
Skip Bayless says
that.
otherwise.
No. Well, everyone's got that's the problem with media is everyone can just say whatever they want and get away with it.
Crazy.
It's kind of unfortunate because there actually used to be a lot of integrity in media and there's way less now because everyone needs crazy voices to get heard. And it actually probably hurts a lot of relationships, which is not the goal of, broadcasting. It should be to develop and cultivate and solve problems. And rather than the critiques, I want people to offer solutions all the time. So nobody knows. And I actually texted Shedeur because I know him very well. And I said, dude, like whatever happens, wherever you go, like that's your first day. Day 2 matters more than the draft. I was 199.
Yeah.
So who could speak on it better than me? Like what that really means. Use it as motivation. You're going to get your chances. Go take advantage of it.
That's Tom Brady, of course. He talks about it being picked 199 overall, his relationship with Shedeur Sanders, and just denying he's a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, but as he said, he wasn't in the talent evaluation process leading up to this draft. Some owners may have input. He's making it sound like he had nothing to do with that at all. And I would imagine he wouldn't want to reach out to Shedeur Sanders, give him some advice. But I think that message is the best. And it was the same thing. Seeing him slide, it made sense. He was never a first-round talent, but in a weak quarterback draft, he would have been a first-round pick, like we saw Bo Nix end up with the Broncos. If he fell out of the first last year, I would have been shocked at all because I don't think he's that good. But he landed in the right spot with Sean Payton, and Bo Nix is looking good. Shedeur Sanders is in the right spot with Kevin Stefanski, one of the best play callers in the NFL. But the most important part is, okay, you fell to 144. Who cares at that point? Because if everyone where they were drafted is what dictates their success in the NFL, well, then Ryan Leaf would have been the greatest quarterback of all time. Tom Brady himself would have been a nothing because he's a sixth-round pick. I think that's the most sound advice in all of that of what he's told Shedeur there.
100%, because as you just said, we've seen like notable guys come out of college and go in those first 3 rounds and their career is over in 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's more the fact of like, what's the meat that you're going to be able to what's the meat you're going to put on the table for your entire NFL career, and make sure that you don't just have a 2, 3, 4 year career. So kind of a twofold thing that I liked about what Tom Brady said there. First of all, of course, who knows it better than him? Like, you're going to want to get a text from Tom Brady, but also, like, your head shouldn't have been so involved in the fact of like, if I don't go first round, then what does this mean for my career? I feel like leading up to the draft, that just took a massive leap, and media playing a role into that. The headline, you know, what was the clickbait on this? He's Deion Sanders' son. Like, this all has to happen. Then Sanders comes out and makes a statement and kind of says that his son is his top talent. So I feel like it was just kind of this thing where it was this give and take to playing into the headline of media being one. Being two, you know, Sanders didn't need to go in those top couple of rounds, as you mentioned. I mean, I grew up watching, not grow up, but like went to college with Blake Bortles, and he was anticipated to have this massive career, and it didn't last that long either. So I feel like 100% of what you said is accurate, and Tom Brady can give him the guidelines, but he didn't need to go to the Raiders. I don't believe that Tom Brady doesn't have a say, because just knowing how meticulous he is and the control freak that he is also, and that's not a bad thing, but like, I can't imagine that you're just a minority owner silently, you know, allowing things to play out, because you always tend to have a little bit of an opinion in the background.
I imagine that, but he's also the guy that comes in, he's bringing credibility and professionalism to that franchise. Played a part of getting Pete Carroll in as a head coach. When people at his age, it didn't make sense. But again, this is a Raiders franchise that wants to get serious and consistent. Brings John Spytek over from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front office as well. Someone that learned under Jason Light and Mike Greenberg. Tom Brady won the Super Bowl there.
You're right.
And I think in a way that would be Tom Brady of bringing in John Spytek. First time he's ever leading a front office, you have to let him do his thing. And we see the identity of this draft class. They got Ashton Ginty, Jack Besh. And they're adding that to a Brock Bowers and a Jacoby Myers. So it's a compact type of offense, how it's going to be. And they go with Cam Miller, the quarterback out of North Dakota State, in the 6th round. Who knows if Cam Miller becomes anything at all? I'm not going to put a lot of stock into him. But I can see Tom Brady in a way of, sure, giving input on the quarterbacks, but end of the day, wanting it to be like John Spytek, you learn, you make your decision. You bring someone in for a certain job, you want it to be that way.
Yeah, I mean, considering the pieces that are in there, as you just broke down, the trust factor is there.
Yeah.
But again, you're talking about a guy who's got, you know, pretty superior football mind. I just still can't imagine Tom Brady not having a say.
There has to be
he's got
input.
the visual, you know?
Yeah, there has to be input. Like, there are meetings and he's giving his opinion.
Yeah.
But I think end of the day, and also the same thing though, where Tom Brady, the leader that he is, and how he understands what's best for the team. Maybe, again, Shedeur Sanders absolutely bombing these interviews, and Tom Brady's connected around the league, as is Spytek.
Yeah.
Maybe if he interviewed well with the Raiders, but poor with other teams, that's a red flag, leadership-wise, for Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what he pointed out elsewhere in that interview is, what's best for the team? You have to be so bought in and sacrifice so much and know that you'll do everything for your teammates. That's how they believe in you.
Right.
But if you have a quarterback coming in where he's like, if you're not ready to put me in and change a franchise because of me, I'm not ready for you, and that's a selfish approach, that's not what Tom Brady would want in that locker room.
Yeah, no. I think it's obvious when he's not going to take a selfish approach to something, because the end goal is one thing, a W. And getting this franchise back on like a positive page and making sure that the rebuild tactic makes sense. And that's also where you trust a Pete Carroll. I mean, we all know I'm a Pete Carroll fan. And the way that they've built out from there says that. So
I would imagine, too, that Tom Brady, I like that shot he had at Skip Bayless, too.
So that's what I meant about the twofold. The media thing, it's true. Like, when you first were coming up in media, you were building positive relationships, and that was with the coaches, that was with the PR staff of the team that you're covering, and that was also with the players. But now, because of the digital storm of things, like, it's like the clickbaity part just kind of like leads the way a little too much. So like, I feel for him in that sense, because it's just like, even if the conversation is going in a different direction, it's that first statement, it's that headline, it's that draw in, and that is where you can start to mess up and like implicate the relationship with a team, with a player, and so on and so forth.
And that's Tom Brady as a player that would understand making relationships with reporters in the locker room. And I think also, too, if you're Skip Bayless, you likely have Tom Brady's cell phone or some connect to Tom Brady. Before you put out something like that, you can call him or his agent, get on the phone, and be like, hey, I want to hear this out.
Yeah.
Instead, he put out a complete meltdown video like Mel Kiper. It's just, I don't know. Hey, we're going to take a quick break on Boston's End of the Chat, but when we're back, nepotism, is it back in New England? Along with Mammoths making an appearance in Utah. And hey, make sure to tweet at us using the hashtag NestedChat. Leave a comment on our YouTube page as well. You guys join the chat. George Balkeji, Kasey Hudson. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Boston's End of the Chat. George Balkeji, Kasey Hudson. Case, let's get into what's trending. So Patriots got a new pro scouting director, AJ Highsmith. Now, when I saw this headline, I was like, all right, oh, cool. They got a new pro scouting director, a guy with the background with the 49ers, also with Buffalo and Tennessee for a year. And then I was like, AJ Highsmith, that sounds familiar. Alonzo Highsmith is basically the head of everything football ops for the Patriots. Right. This is his son. Now, AJ did play football at Miami, where Alonzo Highsmith also was an alum and was part with Miami before he came to New England, but spent 11 years throughout before getting to New England, building up his pro experience. This is nepotism at play, and we can't let that go, because when Bill Belichick had Steve Belichick and Brian Belichick in there, when there was Mick Lombardi on his staff, obviously the son of Michael Lombardi, right, and it wasn't working the best, we had to call it out. So this is one where it's good to get that leadership. It was a position they needed to fill, and someone with a good resume, but it's interesting. Nepotism still at play in New England.
Yeah, I mean, what do they say? It's who you know.
Yeah.
So obviously that's going to play a large role into everything as well. I would say that, like, what kind of disarms the situation a little bit is, like, yeah, there's some quality experience there, and considering the timetable and where he was and like the scouting timeline when he was with the Buffalo Bills, some of the players that came into play there, you're hoping that he had the eye on. So it has to make sense in terms of like him being able to fulfill that role and add success to this team. But yeah, I think at this point, just because we've seen a number of situations where it hasn't particularly worked out, then you are going to call it the nepotism to begin with, because it's just to bring all the attention to the potential of it failing. But hopefully that's not the case here. And because of the, let's just say the generation of like fulfilling dad and making sure that he doesn't disappoint him, I feel like I'd work 10 times harder, but I can't speak for everybody else.
I also do think being with the 49ers for a substantial amount of time, they've always had quality competitive rosters. So he learned from the outside. It wasn't something where he only learned inside of wherever his dad was working.
Exactly.
He set out his own path, and I give that credit. And Mike Vrabel, when he came in, brought in Ryan Cowden to help lead the personnel department. John Stryker is his right-hand man. Terrell Williams, his defensive coordinator. He's made his hires that are his guys.
Right.
But what's good with an AJ Highsmith is he has that outward perspective. He learned on the outside, so he brings something new to how they do pro scouting and how they make personnel decisions in New England. So we'll see. All right, are you a big fan of prehistoric, dinosaurs? I don't know. Beings?
Ice Age?
Mammoths?
Mammoths weren't top of my list.
I like saber-toothed tigers. Utah, the hockey club, will now be the Utah Mammoths. They made a decision on their mascot and logo. You guys see it on your screen. I like the color scheme, but this is giving...
Predators?
No, yes.
Somebody
very
tweeted that, and I
look.
cannot unsee it.
This is giving beer league, high-end hockey league vibes with that logo.
Oh.
It just doesn't look pro quality.
Like there's
to
one
me.
guy on the team that had like the jersey connect.
Exactly.
And so like they came up with a logo that made them feel good in beer league.
Exactly. I love the color scheme. I
Love
hate the
it.
logo.
Yeah, absolutely love it.
And the mammoths, like what's a mammoth? Tie something to Utah.
I know. At this point, like, look, I was all about the Yetis, and clearly they couldn't make that happen. And then I went from like the Yeti potential to screw it, just go Outlaws. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of fun things that you can do with that. But I think because they couldn't get the Yeti, they just wanted something as close as possible.
To being cold?
Yeah, to that coldness, to that monstrous, you know what I mean? Like, all of the antics and the productions that they already kind of had going on, like having that animal, I think is a goal of theirs. I don't know. I wasn't the biggest fan of it though. Mammoth wasn't top of my list, but I can see them supporting it and making it fun in Utah because they had a pretty stellar opening season.
I was all for the Outlaws, even though it's a bunch of Mormons in Utah. I think the Outlaws would have been great. I mean, it's kind of the Wild West out there.
Right.
And if you're gonna go prehistoric, why not go cavemen?
Oh.
And you're just gonna beat everyone with a club.
That's
It's like
true.
perfect for a hockey team.
It would be fun. It
Cavemen
would be
be a
lot
bunch of
fun.
brutes.
And then isn't there another like major animal out there?
For them?
Yeah.
Honestly,
That's
some
not
of the
prehistoric?
some of the options were so bad that I just kind of like.
I was shocked. Yeah, I was pretty shocked at like the lack of like creativity sometimes. But if they could have gone in with Yeti, I was here for it.
That logo though is literally a tweak on the Preds logo, and even you think of the Buffalo Sabres, their black and red alternates. It's very similar to that. Can we pull it up one more time? Pull up the Utah Mammoths. I almost said Yetis again. Pull up their logo one more time if we can, because that's what gets me. Just look at that. It's literally
like
Sabres
small.
logo.
I think the head is like a little too small. A mammoth is a giant creature. Why do we have this little Nashville Predator looking head on the jersey? Again, credit to whoever tweeted that, but I can't unsee it. So
Maybe, and if it went face up, it would be the Sabres all over again.
yeah, you nailed that one.
And I like this symbol of Utah across the chest. Do we get that now? Do we not? The color scheme's there.
I don't think we get Utah across the chest, but I will say it stressed me out to be like Utah Hockey Club versus whomever. Like, it was just a mouthful, and it was lame considering like the energy behind the team.
The Mammoths score a goal in the third period. They're now down 4-1 to the Bruins as they fall to their 70th loss of the season. Like, Mammoths doesn't have that electric to
It's a little weak, especially when you talk about it falling.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do. All right, now let's talk about teams that need to find a way to win, regardless of what they're doing and what their logo is. The Celtics. They become the first team since 1996 and 1997 to lose 2 games when leading by 20-plus points in a single postseason. Teams that have also fallen to 0-2 in a playoff series, 7% win percentage.
Wow.
7% of those teams have come back to win. This is what the brutal part was of Case. You're watching it and you're thinking, no way this happens again. They were good. They were driving inside. They only shot 43s. They didn't shoot 60. They dialed it back from three-point line. They were getting good looks. They were attacking the rim, picking on mismatches. Another 20-point lead blown in the fourth quarter. Offense goes stagnant. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown go MIA.
Yeah, and it blew my mind because, I mean, at least for me watching this last night, I'm jumping between the Celtics game and the NHL playoffs, and I look at the first quarter, and I'm like, oh, they had like 2 minutes and 39 seconds left, 19 points. It looked like they were in complete control, and I know you can't get too high up in the first quarter, but I'm like, okay, here we go. Everybody was talking about them just having this like massive bounce back, not keeping it close whatsoever. Check back in again, things are still looking good, and then all of a sudden destruction. And you've got 2 guys that put up 20 points between Brown and Holiday, or 20 apiece, and then you're thinking to yourself, anytime Tatum gets any sort of containment, the team just falls apart. And that's not giving enough credit to the Knicks in what they did, but it's also the fact of like, it's just been the recipe in the postseason. If Tatum's not having these big moments for the most part, the fall apart just tends to happen.
Yeah, 0 for 7 from the floor in game 1, 1 for 5 from the floor in game 2. And it was also their late game execution. This is a part where this team has the championship pedigree. They've looked like, even though they haven't had the 1 seed, the entire regular season it's been the Celtics, the structure, how they're built. But this was a Knicks team that was literally put together. They trade 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. You bring him in because you need that big, long wing, really good defender, but can also score. They bring in Karl-Anthony Towns. They wanted more spacing. They gave OG Anunoby all that money because he's a defensive stopper and can match up with the Jason Tatum.
Right.
This was a team that didn't look right all regular season, but they built them to win in 7 games against the Celtics. When you go down 0-2, you drop both games at home, 20-point leads, and now you go to Madison Square Garden, those fans will be rabid. They're out for blood. And that's where you put yourself in a tough spot to have any success.
One of the most difficult spots, going to Madison Square Garden for that.
The Jays always perform well there. We'll see what they do. But we're not done talking Celtics. We'll take another break when we're back here from Jaylen Brown and why this team can bounce back. Plus, our guy, Travis Thomas from Hold My Banner, stops by. He was at Game 2. What does he have to say about where the Celtics need to get right?
All right, so look, I got to ask y'all a question then. Are y'all a little nervous after the Game 1 loss, or what is this, Celtics in 5 or what?
Celtics in 5. Celtics in 5, easy.
Hell no. 5. We fear nothing over here in Boston, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, Madison Square Garden is overrated. I'm going to tell you this. We're going to take over Game 2, Game 3 and 4, we're going to win that. We're coming back here in Game 5, and we're going to wipe them out. And we're wiping out the Knicks.
And then who's next? Cavs? Pacers? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter. Whoever's facing the Eastern Conference Championship.
He's clearly not fearing after the Game 1 loss. So how many games are the Celtics winning this series then?
4. No. 5.
5. Season 5.
We learned from our mistakes last game. It's about to be 4-0 from now on, bro.
I feel for them. I said Celtics in 5 even after that Game 1 loss. You know what the toughest part is? Putting all that green paint and white paint on.
The whole thing.
And then you have to drive home, get home, look yourself in the mirror, wipe it off after they blow another 20-point lead.
Right. That's going to be like the most historically worst bath. Getting that paint off after thinking that your team had a chance. Yet again. I hope he never paints his body again.
I feel for that.
He needs to do what the cloak guy did. Did you see the Boston Celtics cloak cape situation?
No.
That's the safest bet.
If they come back from down 0-2, paint your body at that point, because I don't know, but don't paint it the rest of this series. Hey, you saw him right there, Travis Thomas of Hold My Banner, was out at the Garden, hanging with the fans, getting the pulse. Let's bring him in now. T-Man, we heard the high spirits.
Yeah.
And then they lose 91-90, down 0-2, now going to the Garden. What was the vibes like last night?
Not good, George. As you saw before the game, great. After the game, not so much. Listen, man, even me, I'm guilty of it. I talked a lot of trash. There's no way I could show my face in New York. I'm telling you right now, all the trash I've been talking in this series, but I'm quiet as a mouse now. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10 of anger, I'm at a 19, as in Banner 19, because that's exactly what's at stake here with the way this team is playing. I want to start with Joe Mazzulla. Then I'll work my way to Jason Tatum. Let's start with Mazzulla. First of all, in the fourth quarter, I don't know, George, 7, 8 minutes left. You're not scoring. Where's Porzingis? Where's Tatum? They're sitting on the bench. I'm like, I get the shots aren't falling right now, but get them in the game. I don't know what's going on with Kristaps Porzingis and his health. I don't. But I know Boston is a great health city. Go get him to talk to somebody. Go get him seen. Go get him checked out. Get this fixed. Get some medicine and get back out there because they need him. Joe Mazzulla not only has these guys on the bench in clutch time, but then you have the nerve to leave at the end of this game with a timeout in your pocket that you should have taken with 20 seconds left. Then he says, well, 20 seconds before that, I didn't take a timeout and it led to a dunk. These things are not the same, bro. Why do we have to explain that to you? Take a timeout, draw up a play. Oh, I get it. You didn't do it because you can't draw up a play, which we learned in game 1. And we've seen throughout the regular season in the rare times when this team is in late games and it's close and it's situational and you have to manage timeouts and figure out how to draw plays and get guys open. He can't do it. Case, George, this guy's a master motivator. I will never take that away from him. But when it comes to drawing plays up, when it comes to managing a clock late and situational basketball late in games, he is not bad. He is atrocious. And then the press conference after the game was worse. He basically doesn't take accountability. He doubles down. He's stubborn. He's like, this is the way we do it. You're down 2-0. You lost both home games to a team you are clearly better than. The Knicks are scrappy. The Knicks don't settle for threes. They take it to the rim. The Knicks are tough. They play defense. They make adjustments. He is being exposed and outcoached. Now, to Jason Tatum. I'm not letting you off the hook either. Last season, Jaylen Brown carried this team to a title. He was clutch. He was a closer. He was a finisher. He was a tough guy. He was all of that. Jason Tatum was a facilitator. No problem. We got the ring. Well, this season, Jaylen Brown's not doing that. Cool. You're off the hook a bit for now because we've seen you do it. Jason Tatum, we have yet to see you do it. Yet again, you disappear. You shrink late in big games. I mean, honestly, between Mazzulla and Tatum, I'm at 19, as in Banner 19, for frustration and anger, because that's exactly what it's going to cost this team. And think about this, guys. New owner coming in. If you choke this away and you lose this series, you don't think that new owner is going to look around and say, yeah, I'm making wholesale changes to this. And then this core group that we have that we all know should have more than one title, we will look back on and say, they only won one title? This core group will get broken up if they don't figure this series out. You can bet that.
That's I feel his pain, but at the same juncture, the biggest case that I saw out of all of this is the fact that the new ownership and everyone else is going to have a reason to blow this up.
They already do, and they're not doing them any rights. It's tough to see Drew Holiday potentially go out this way. The foul he had on Brunson was inexcusable. I understand that's Drew making Drew plays in that moment, but you can't send Jalen Brunson to the free throw line when you have this defense. And you got Kristaps Porzingis. Those are the two guys that are expendable in all this with what they're getting paid. Kristaps Porzingis battling an illness, looking winded. And it could be that same thing he was battling just 2 months ago, beginning of March, that kept him out for some extended time where he didn't know what it is. But Trav, you pointed out, game 1, Jason Tatum, 0 for 7 in the fourth quarter. This game, 1 for 5. And you point out that Joe Mazzulla keeping a timeout. OG Anunoby made an egregious mistake, selling out on defense, trying to screen, pick up Jason Tatum at half court, and that left the wide open lane. The Knicks went with a completely different look, and everyone can see that with 9, 10 seconds left. That's when you called the timeout. I don't believe in keeping it in your pocket because you have the same setup. Now, that is, you have Mitchell Robinson out on the floor, so the substitutions are in your favor. But that's what comes down to this is a team and a head coach that is showing he can't make adjustments on the fly. And in playoff basketball, like Tibbs did, you have to do that, T.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, again, big picture. It almost feels like if they lose this series, last season's championship is diminished. You can't take it away, obviously. A champion's a champion. That banner still counts. But this core group is so good, and they were so dominant in that championship run that you can't go and flame out to the Knicks in this round the next season. It diminishes that championship run, and we're having a Joe Mazzulla conversation here. What does it do to him? I mean, does a new owner come in and say, not only am I going to make changes with this roster, you're obviously not going to move off of a Joe Mazzulla that quickly, but certainly you could be looking at him with the side eye. He could be on somewhat of a hot seat in terms of if this team flames out again, whatever the new look Celtics are at that point, and you're still seeing these coaching deficiencies in a Joe Mazzulla, that new owner could be like, hey, listen, I'm going to go make a splashy hire. Because remember, when Ime Udoka, when that situation happened, y'all, we all were shocked, and it all happened so fast. They didn't have time to go out and shop around and get some big-name coach. And I remember thinking then Brad Stevens may come back, but he didn't. They go with Mazzulla, and it looked like the right decision. But as time goes on, if they flame out to this Knicks team, depending on how they lose it, listen, if you go 7 here and you lose on a buzzer beater to Brunson, maybe you stomach that a little better. But if they get swept or they lose in 5, I'm telling you, not only the roster, all eyes are going to be on Joe Mazzulla as well.
I mean, it has to be with all of this. Trav, you bring that up. Scale of 1 to 10. What's the panic meter now? Down 0-2, going to Madison Square Garden.
I don't know if I have capacity for panic because I'm so ticked off. Honestly, I mean, some of me feels like this team's so much better than the Knicks that the panic level's not as high as you would think. Because would I be shocked if, or let me ask you guys this, would you be shocked if this team wins 2 games in MSG, we all take a breath, and we're like, okay. So I don't know, panic, I'm not there yet. Where I am is I'm really upset and I'm really ticked off at the continual, we're going to impose our will that is not working from Joe Mazzulla and squad. Also, Tatum, Brown, these leaders, Holiday, all these guys who've been here, done that. Derek White. Someone needs to, as George would say, MF somebody, dog cuss someone, get out there, take it to the rack. Sort of make your own adjustments. If Joe Mazzulla's not doing it, you're all veterans. This isn't some young team. Go out there, you do it. You take ownership. Take over the game. Hey, we're going to the rack. Screw these threes. No one's doing that. So I'm not at a panic because of the level of talent on the team, and we've seen them obviously win in big spots, but I am ticked off to the highest degree.
I'll tell you right now. Get me on my ISO cam. I'll tell you this right now. My panic levels are so high on this team, it's absurd. My panic levels on this are at, like, coming up, my panic levels for the Celtics, 7.5. Because you're down 0-2, now going to the Garden. You know how tough it's going to be if you drop one game and you have to come back with the pressure and anxiety of this crowd in TD Garden on you, down 3-1? And let's keep in mind, this Knicks team was built in the image to beat the Celtics in the postseason. They look like dog water for 82 games. But you go out and you sign OG Anunoby, trade for him, then extend him, because that's a big physical defender that can match up with Jason Tatum. You give away 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges because that's a long wing defender that brings offense, like him being 0 for 3 quarters and then dropping 14 in the 4th. You go out and you add Karl-Anthony Towns for that spacing. This team can shoot, they can defend, they can get stops, and most of all, they have a closer and a finisher in Jalen Brunson. And on the Celtics side of this, Jason Tatum doesn't look right. His shot is broke. He's shooting 25% from the floor in this series after looking amazing against the Magic. This team can't execute in clutch time. Kristaps Porzingis is dealing with an illness that no one knows what's about, and he's the 3rd best player on this team. You're down 0-2 going into Madison Square Garden where the crowd will be rabid. 7.5, maybe an 8 with the panic meter. Because out of the history of all teams to go down 0-2 in a playoff series, little more than 7% have come back and win the whole thing. This is how close this team is on the margins. And what the Knicks have, composure, compete, toughness, and they don't get shook. Back-to-back 20-point leads blown. I'm at 8 now. As I talk to it more, I'm on an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. Case, what about you?
I'm with you. I'm sitting at that 8, but maybe even a 9, because combining what the pair of you have just said, for one, when you get into a postseason and you can get out-coached on the other bench, that's a problem, because then that means that there's so much confidence sitting on the Knicks bench that, on top of the fact that they were able to make these comebacks and get into it to begin with, those kind of momentum swings, that kind of confidence, that carries you through a postseason. I also have a little bit of the stipulation and superstition that when you kind of have that perfect regular season vibes, a lot of things become exposed in the postseason. So thinking of the coaching angle, thinking of the fact of one coaching out-strategizing the other, going to Madison Square Garden, as you pointed out, and then 2 postseasons ago, if it's not Jason Tatum getting it done, this team has an ability to fall apart at the seams. And then you mentioned the health of Porzingis. So there's just too many question marks in terms of me confidently thinking, yeah, they can go to Madison Square Garden and pull off 2 wins versus a Knicks team that's riding high on vibes, confidence, and strategy. That's a lot of panic for me.
Their best player in the 4th quarter was Peyton Pritchard, and he played just under 6 minutes. Their best player was Peyton Pritchard, their leading scorer. He hit a 3 with 8:44 left. They didn't get another field goal on the floor until Tatum had that drive dunk. That was a mistake by the Knicks. I'm panicked, T. I'm not going to lie. I am panicked, my man.
I'm ticked off. I don't have time to be panicked. I think they're going to win Game 3. I still think the Celtics win this series, to be honest with you. But I'm seeing too many things that concern me moving down the line. Anyone see the Thunder last night? You think you could play these games in the NBA Finals that Joe Mazzulla's doing, coaching this team? You definitely can't.
And this is a team that wasn't put together and had this hype to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I love you point that out, T. They were here and they kept them together to repeat as champions, because this same iteration of the team won't be the same. He's Travis Thomas. You catch him on Hold My Banner. You could catch him on Boston as end of the chat as well. And you could catch him and Ante Campbell outside the Garden for all home games. Hopefully, the vibes are much higher and the Celtics are coming back with this series knotted up 2-2. T, we'll see you, my man.
My man.
All right, when we're back, we'll be taking a look at the NHL playoffs. Yes, playoffs with Mikko Rantanen locked in, revenge tour, that continues, and much more right here on Boston Has Entered the Chat. George Blood here with Kasey Hudson back on Boston Has Entered the Chat. Hey, make sure to tweet at us, the chat, the hashtag the chat on Twitter. Also leave comments on our YouTube page. Case, let's talk your favorite thing, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
NHL playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs are heating up. Dallas with a 1-0 lead over the Stars. Edmonton with a lead over the Knights. Toronto up 2-0 on the Panthers. And also just Mikko Rantanen just continuing his absolute run. And the Carolina Hurricanes up 1-0 on the Caps. So let's start with Mikko Rantanen.
Absolutely.
I mean, the revenge tour just continues.
I love it. I love this for him. First of all, he makes history in last night's game, joining one of 3 for back-to-back hat tricks in the Stanley Cup. First one took place in 1944, second in 1985. And I love this for Rantanen because I've mentioned it before. I feel like he was kind of villainized because of what happened in the whole trade debacle.
Yeah.
Going to Carolina, choosing Dallas at the end. But at the end of the day, you're talking about a grade A character hockey player and a tremendous hockey player. A guy who stepped up in Colorado when Nathan McKinnon went down, had an outrageous season 2 seasons ago, and he's just such a presence in a number of ways. I think that the way that he plays just elevates whatever line that he's on, and of course he's typically on that top line, but last night it was just all about that pesky net front presence. You're talking about a 6'4" hockey player that just has unique eyes and great puck handling skills and just an ability to be in the net front and make sure he gets those key deflections or charging the net, whatever it takes. And that's exactly why he came up strong with 3 goals to help the Stars supersede the Jets.
I mean, he did it against his old team in the Canes, his old team. He was with them for like a hot minute. And then, the Avs, after going from the Canes. And now what he's doing with the Stars, coming back with another hat trick. But that just shows the special type of player he is.
Yeah.
And obviously has a playoff experience too, the Stanley Cup pedigree, the Stanley Cup winning experience as well. And it's also big for the Stars getting Jason Robertson back into the fold.
100%. And that was something else that I was anticipating being a punch for the Dallas Stars, because you get Robo back in the mix and he's a guy that just kind of adds that layer to the power play. And even though I think he went, 4 shot attempts and had 1 scoring chance, but you're coming back from injury and he didn't need to do anything too fancy. I think presence alone kind of, again, adds that momentum to any sort of team. But I said it yesterday. I've said it a number of times leading up to this series when we found out these 2 teams were locked in. A difference maker could be special teams. Mikko Rantanen locks things up with his hat trick on the power play to close out the game.
Yeah.
You're talking about a Jets team that was just a part of a series with the highest hits, the highest penalty minutes. Any lack of discipline is going to swing in favor of a Dallas Stars team that knows how to handle this moment and has the talent and layers of talent to make sure that that happens. So they get Robo back, but then looking at the other flip of the coin, Jets get Mark Scheifele back into the mix. He picks up 1 of 2 goals for the Jets. It wasn't enough because of what's going on in front of Connor Hellebuyck. Even though Hellebuyck is kind of having these waves here, I think that the defensive structure in front of him is going to have to pull off a lot stronger play in order for them to move forward.
When you got a goalie that good, you got to pay off in front of them.
Right.
And you got to give them as many opportunities as possible. Goalies can be great. You just got to put shots on them. Something's going to leak through. Something's going to get through in all this. All right, let's take a look up north to Toronto. I'm going to talk positively about the Maple Leafs for the first time in my life.
No one be alarmed. We both have to do it right now.
In the postseason. I have some friends that are from Toronto. Quick story. And we were in college, and I was like, man, we got to go up to Toronto for a playoff game.
Yeah.
I think it'd be such a sick atmosphere. Let's do it. It's a quick drive, 7 hours. We can rip it. They're like, dude, are you crazy? Why would we go to a playoff game? We don't win in the playoffs. It's nothing but heartbreak. Regular season, sure. Playoffs, we're not wasting our money. They're up 2-0 for the second straight time in the postseason for the first time since the 60s.
Right.
And this is also them doing it against a really good Florida Panthers team.
Right, reigning Stanley Cup champions. And I tweeted it last night. I'm like, how many of us even had the potential of Toronto going up 2-0 in the series versus the Panthers? And a lot of the narrative around that first game was the Panthers didn't show up or they showed up late in the game. But it was unique to me because you're looking at a Maple Leafs team that isn't particularly getting enough credit for where they did add to. And they said it on the broadcast last night. I've said it for the past couple of weeks. You're going to have a lot of confidence with a Chris Tanev playing in front of you. He was an immediate bolster when he was back in Dallas. Then he gets the trade and ends up with the Toronto Maple Leafs, has a goal in game 1, but he's just somebody that adds so much confidence to a goaltender. And with this whole movement, with Stolarz being out of the mix, not wanting to rush him back because concussions are serious, Wall was able to have that reliability in front of him, but they've always talked about their core 4, potentially now their core 5 showing up with Matthew Knies just being the force that he is. I'm obsessed with this kid. That's the only compliment that I will give to the Toronto Maple Leafs is that I'm a Matthew Knies fan. But it's the ability to just kind of have this tidal wave of scoring chances and opportunities, and you're kind of seeing a Panthers team having to consistently readjust. Paul Maurice, I think, is a really good hockey mind, but these adjustments are eliminating your top 6 guys. Now you're looking at a Lundell, a Luosterainen, and these guys being your key forces to make something happen. The Maple Leafs potentially have a chance here, but Sunrise is a beast to play in. And I know this after a couple of disappointing exits covering the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, and when you look at it too, I mean, just think of what the Maple Leafs, the production they're getting with William Nylander now showing up. It's always been the attention's been on an Austin Matthews, how skilled that team is. Nylander is so talented, has been so good since he was coming up, playing out in Europe. Now with him stepping up, that's the extra level. And it's the Panthers getting a taste of their own medicine because the Panthers are so deep. They get so many guys scoring, showing up, playing a 200-foot game.
Yeah.
Nylander is taking over that role in a way, taking it from Florida and putting it on with what he's doing with Toronto.
Oh, 100%. I mean, his point streak puts him in good company. I think he sits top 3 now with most points through first 8 playoff games. But Willie Stiles, you can't say enough about him and his ability to respond whenever a team gets on the board. Also, Mitch Marner with a disturbingly beautiful goal. It was almost like an accident. It looked like he was going in for a pass and it just happened to hit the top shelf. But you have a lot of talent. I think what we're seeing now finally is some maturity for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because even seeing Marner's post-game responses, like we saw a lot of tantrums last year, you're seeing a guy that knew he had to level things out.
Yeah, and it showed like the composure in the big moments in a way that they are just blocking out the pressure. There is pressure that comes with playing for that team, especially with all the talent they have. But with Nylander and Marner, alleviating some of that maybe from Austin Matthews, who's one of the best players in the league, that just gives everyone more freedom to play with. And you need the guys to show up, not just the superstars. And when the stars are showing up before each other and playing together, see how valuable that is. All right, guys, this Boston has entered the chat. Kasey Hudson, George Balkeji, shout out Travis Thomas stopping by talking Celtics. Shout out to you guys making us a part of your day. And also make sure you can catch a full hour of Boston Has Entered the Chat on Nesson Nation as well. Full programming, everything you see on Nesson, catch over on Nesson Nation as well, along with all our podcasts. For GB and Kasey Hudson, we'll see you guys next time.